This is the Sports Hit List. By the fans, for the fans.
Episode 2 of the Pro Wrestling Mount Rushmore series, Carl Coulange for the Sports Hit List, by the fans and for the fans. Let me introduce my panel. We have Ricardo Etienne, Rockland County's favorite son, is back to cause mayhem. How you doing, sir?
Doing good, man. Feels good to be back on a Rushmore panel, man.
You're lucky I allowed you to come back. I don't know.
Hey.
Last time.
It's been a while. I see you kicked me off of one, man. I was supposed to be on a tag team. I didn't get a call.
Yeah. Well, you got you back here for the matches one. We got Mike.
Right.
Mike, how you doing, man?
What's up? Doing great.
We have Alan Pines from the Alan Austin Show. How you doing, sir?
Doing well, man. Thanks for having me.
And we have Zach Droll, the Outlaw. He's got to be in character. He's got the glasses on.
Okay.
I'm doing good, Carl. Doing good. Happy to be back on another Rushmore.
All right, let's go to my guy Alan first. Alan, what are your top 4 matches all time? Go for it.
Now, everyone's going to preface with their reasons for choosing these, correct? We've all watched at different times. We're probably of a little bit of different age groups. Our frame of reference is going to be altered. So there's no right or wrong answer, correct? Unless you pick.
Of course
Melina
Listen. When it comes to me, there are wrong answers. I'll tell you that right now.
In case you pick Melina
that's true.
Alicia Fox.
There are some answers that will make me wonder why I have you on here, but I'm curious to find out.
Well, I was just testing that. So I'll cross out Melina versus Alicia Fox.
That's great though, man. That match is amazing.
All right, I tried to sprinkle in a little bit. I try not to be biased because these are not my 4 favorite matches, but these are matches that I think affected the business one way or another and are also just monumental. So in no particular order, I have Sasha Banks versus Bayley at NXT Brooklyn. Then I have TLC 2 at WrestleMania 17. I have The Rock versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan. And I have Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels from WrestleMania 24.
Okay, Hogan, Rock. Just give me a second. And Flair
Interesting list.
versus.
I agree with that list, actually.
Well,
That's it. So to
interesting.
recap, he goes Flair, HBK, WrestleMania 24, right?
Mhm.
Hogan versus Rock, WrestleMania 18. TLC 2, I believe, was WrestleMania 17, right?
Yeah.
Hogan Rock was WrestleMania 18, and then Sasha Banks versus Bayley at NXT Takeover. That was 2015, right?
I just know it was NXT Brooklyn 1. I don't remember what year.
Okay, NXT. Okay, let's go to Zach. Zach, the floor is yours, sir.
My picks are going no particular order. I have John Cena versus CM Punk at Money in the Bank 2011. Sami Zayn versus Nakamura at Takeover Dallas. Greg the Hammer Valentine versus Rowdy Piper in the first ever dog collar match. And probably the one Mike guessed, Omega versus Okada, Wrestle Kingdom 11.
Yeah. I know you too well. Okay.
Okay, wait. Say that. Okay, give me 1 second. So I have you put Cena versus Punk, Zayn versus Nakamura. What's your second one again?
Greg the Hammer Valentine versus Rowdy Piper, the first ever dog collar match.
Valentine versus Piper.
And then Omega versus Okada at Wrestle Kingdom 11.
Omega versus Okada. So Omega versus Okada, Valentine versus Roddy Piper, Sami Zayn versus Nakamura, John Cena versus CM Punk. Okay, let's go to Ricardo. Rick, you're on the clock, sir.
All right. So first off, I'll double up on one that's already been thrown out there. TLC 2, absolutely one of the greatest matches ever from one of the greatest WrestleManias ever. While we're there at WrestleMania X7, as they called it, I'm going to go out with my second one. I'm going to go Rock and Austin. Third one, 2 guys who have had amazing monumental matches nonstop throughout their career. I had 2 of their matches high up on my list. I decided to go with WrestleMania 19, HBK versus Chris Jericho. And then the last one, a little curveball, I want to say is middle of the summer, 1998, July something. I can't remember exactly the date, but I'm going to go Hollywood Hulk Hogan versus Goldberg on Nitro.
Interesting.
Okay, so he goes Hogan versus Goldberg, HBK versus Jericho, Rock Austin, and TLC 2. Mike, you're on the clock.
Okay. Well, I also have TLC from WrestleMania 17. That match was just plain awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a different one that I feel as if though nobody's really watched, but I'm going to throw it out there because it's on my list. Samoa Joe versus Christopher Daniels versus AJ Styles, 2005 for the X Division title. You should watch that match. It's on TNA's YouTube channel. It's half an hour long. It was an incredible match between.
So say that again. Joe versus AJ Styles versus
Christopher Daniels from 2005.
That's the way triple threat matches should work. That match
Yes,
right there.
it was an incredible match. So I'm going to put that on there. Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker for WrestleMania 25. Okay. I'm just going to throw that one out there right now. And Cena versus CM Punk 2011.
HBK versus Taker 1 and Punk versus Cena. So the same one that Zach had, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you go CM Punk versus John Cena, HBK versus Taker, Joe versus AJ Styles versus Chris Daniels, and TLC 2. I'm just looking at these matches, and as the host, again, it's not my list, but there's a lot of matches that I didn't see here. Do you have a lot of honorable mentions that kind of should have made this list that couldn't make it? Alan.
You know, I revisited Savage Steamboat at WrestleMania 3.
That's a clear one that I'm a little shocked that's not here.
And I got to say, watching it in 2020, I was underwhelmed. And the only reason is for its time, it was fantastic. It was technical. It had a 6-month feud leading up to it. It had the valet and the manager playing a part. But after being conditioned after the Attitude Era and the indie scene of recent memory, it just didn't strike me as anything crazy amazing. So if I put my frame of reference in WrestleMania 3 and I was a fan watching then, it was something I probably would just like be in awe of. But being that I've been conditioned now to spot fest matches, to crazy near falls constantly, this, that, and the other thing, to see a 6-month feud end on a roll-up pin after a really good technical match, it just felt underwhelming. So while, yes, it is great, it did not crack my top 4 for that reason. And my honorable mention for me personally would be Cena versus Styles at SummerSlam. I loved that match.
Mm-hmm.
And to see AJ go over Cena at that point was something that I think most fans really appreciated.
That was a really good match.
We wanted that. Not even appreciated. We wanted that.
I was going to put that match over the dog collar match, but I decided to go with the dog collar one.
You see, you guys are there's another guy who didn't make this list that should be here. And
Are you
guys
saying
know
John Cena?
No, I'm saying there's one guy here particular. If you know
Bret Hart.
Bret
Hart.
Hart.
Thank you.
Okay.
How does the greatest technical wrestler not make a match list? And I could name you 2 quality matches in back-to-back years that Bret had. And
I know what you're thinking of.
I could even give you 3 top matches that Bret had.
Give
Why
me
is
one
he not here?
I could think of it.
Bret versus Davey
Austin.
Boy.
Oh, you have Austin versus Bret Hart from WrestleMania 13. You also have his SummerSlam match against British Bulldog, and you also have the one he has against Mr. Perfect at SummerSlam 91. How
You want to think
Would
of
you
Shawn
even
Michaels?
count the screw job, to be honest, too?
No.
You can count that if you want, whatever. But I'm
the
just
British
asking
Bulldog
why.
match, I did consider that one. The British Bulldog match, I considered. I did also consider the Iron Man match. I considered a whole bunch of HBK matches. Like, it took me forever to just get down to 3 to 5 HBK matches and shrink the list from there. So there's definitely a lot of other matches. I think this is one of those categories more than ever that, you know, there's no right list, there's no wrong list. You try to, you know, sprinkle in a little something here and there all over the place and try to get the most diverse list as possible. But I mean, matches, I mean, there's been so many amazing matches. It's tough to really just come down to 4, you know?
Carl, I had a friend of mine, I told him I was going to be on this panel, and he said his favorite match of all time is Bret versus Owen at WrestleMania.
At WrestleMania 10, that was a good one. That was a really classic one too. I mean, you look at guys like who are in-ring technicals. You could even toss out there if you really wanted to Eddie Guerrero versus Brock Lesnar for the title in 2003. Like that's a classic. Eddie Guerrero is a workhorse.
Brock and Angle.
You know, so
really
it's like,
you know?
what was the deciding factor in leaving some of those quality matches off? Like, did you have to flip a coin? Did you have to say, you know what, you can't go wrong? Mike.
So for me, it's based on history. I can't put in a match that's 5 years ago. for me, it doesn't have enough history to it.
Wait. Say that again. Say that one more time.
A match from 5 years ago. So I took out 2015 to 2020. It just doesn't have enough history to it just yet.
Okay.
So that's what went through my list. Because there's a lot of good matches between them, but not enough history. Put them in.
Is that fair?
Yeah, that's
Well,
fair.
I'm in the minority on that one because I have Sami Zayn and Nakamura along with Omega and Okada. Sami Zayn and Nakamura started the Fight Forever chants that we now hear in WWE.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for that match, like we would have never heard those chants reign as heavy as they did. And like with Omega and Okada, like that match is history. It's the biggest part in New Japan history, and you cannot deny that.
Let me ask you a question though.
Yes.
Okay. How many people know who Okada is?
Wow. Okay, yeah, him.
Well, I mean, that I don't think that should matter in match quality. That means someone should be able to go out there and figure out to watch the match. And
It's not about star power, Mike. It's never about star power.
Star power does matter a little bit though, because let's face it, all of us chose star power.
Right. So you know what? In talking about that,
I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, one of the things that the biggest criteria for me as I started going through all of these matches, I tried to remember, what I felt when I first watched that match when I was watching live. That's one of the things as I started to shrink it down. And when I came down to my list, like I made sure I picked 4 matches that I remember distinctively being glued to the TV, and when it's over, just like, oh my God, what did I just watch? You know what I mean? I almost put in the Firefly Funhouse match, the Bray Wyatt and Cena match, because I still think that's one of the most incredible things I've ever seen from WWE.
Was that really a match though?
Yes.
Yeah.
But you know what? One could say like look at Alan's list. He put Hogan and Rock. Now, the match itself, was it up there compared to matches, or was it just the aura and the names and the fan built around that match made it what it is? Because
I didn't watch it.
Because
I will tell you, if I ever had to show a person who said they never watched wrestling before, if I needed them to get hype about the sport, I would put that match on because they would know both people just from pop culture.
Absolutely.
Nothing to do with wrestling. And I've never, ever, even Money in the Bank 2011, I've never seen a hotter crowd than Rock Hogan at WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
no question.
The match itself, very formulaic, good guy versus bad guy, but it was the most electrifying match in The Rock's career. And The Rock's had an amazing career, short when you consider it against some others, but that match against Hogan was the hottest crowd I've ever seen. Those guys, they bumped, Hogan did the belt gimmick, everything, they hit all their spots, and it was just a pure example of why people have such fandom within WWE.
Let me ask you one thing.
Mike, you've never seen that match?
No, I haven't seen the match. No. I heard about it, but I haven't seen the match.
I've seen the match.
No, but hold on a second.
Oh my God.
But hold on a second. So you're talking about how electric the crowd was, but I keep looking at interviews and I look at all Goldberg's matches. Goldberg sucks. He's not a good wrestler.
But that match, you see, but you know what? To Alan's point, which goes to that Hogan Goldberg match, that crowd was hot, bro. And I think it was at the Georgia Dome, if I'm not mistaken. That Monday Night Nitro match when Hogan dropped the title to Goldberg. That, like, the crowd was, when I say the crowd was nuts, you couldn't even hear a pin drop. That's how loud it was in there. And yes, Goldberg was a terrible wrestler, but the crowd makes the match. Like, when the crowd is into like that Hogan and Rock match, the first 10 minutes is just them staring at each other, and the place just goes nuts. And you're just sitting there like, oh my God, like, I wish I was there. That's how much you felt it. You literally felt them cheering. They look at each other. They look this way. They look that way. They look at each other, and the crowd is still going crazy. They haven't even touched each other.
There was a match that I
that's
mentioned.
Amazing.
There's a match that I say that I can't believe you guys aren't saying.
Which
this
is what?
deserves to be on there.
Which match?
Shawn Michaels v. Taker, WrestleMania 25.
Right. I mean, somebody else put it on there.
If Carl was on the panel, he would have put that up there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, completely.
So here's one of the things you mentioned about the hot crowds. Like you mentioned that that was one of the hottest crowds, or the hottest crowd you've ever seen was Rock versus Hogan. For me personally, I think that Hogan and Goldberg that for me was the hottest crowd I've ever seen. And to that point, the reason why I put that match specifically on the list is just because where it was, the way it happened in the timeline of events within the industry when WCW versus WWE, WWF was kind of at its peak, bumping heads, going back and forth, and you had Goldberg come up, you know, the way he did. That whole timeline, how it all happened, the way, you know, coming down that way, it was just insane. And again, I still can remember right now just that crowd going crazy. They're tossing stuff in the ring. Like, I've never seen a hotter crowd. Now, here's one thing I will say, and I'm hoping some of you guys might remember this match. Here's another match that I thought, again, along the lines of really hot crowds. It was a random Monday night match, Chris Jericho versus Triple H. Chris Jericho beat Triple H for the title. And then later on, Triple H had to bring the refs out to overturn it. I don't know if you guys remember that match.
I do.
I didn't start watching that.
That is a super underrated hot. That crowd was crazy. I don't know if it was maybe a test to see if they felt Jericho was ready for that next level, and that's kind of why they did it. Who knows what the backstory is? But I remember when Jericho hit that pinfall, that crowd went nuts.
One more match to add to that, I think you could toss in there was Undertaker versus Jeff Hardy on the ladder match.
Yeah.
That match. Yeah, I think it was on a Monday Night Raw where Undertaker lifted Jeff Hardy's hand in just telling him that he did a great job.
That was a spot fest too, man.
It was. It really was. But let's move on to making our picks. Rick, I'll give you the floor first before you cause drama.
Oh. No, I'm not leaving without.
Go ahead, Rick.
Oh man. Oh, all right. So since I'm going first, I'm gonna assume that TLC is gonna get on there. I'm actually gonna go for now. I'm gonna go with Hogan Goldberg.
Hogan Goldberg. Okay. Alan?
Because no one else gave it any love and I feel like it needs to be there, I'm going Sasha Banks Bailey at NXT Brooklyn.
Okay.
Nice.
Bailey, Sasha.
That match was also the 4 horsewomen of NXT afterwards all raised their hands together.
I'm probably going to debate with you on
Zach?
that.
You know what? I want to go outside the WWE realm. Omega versus Okada at Wrestle Kingdom 11. Because that match, like, is just truly, it's an hour long, but like you are glued to your screen. Every single bump, knee strike, rainmaker, like you're just glued to it.
Mike.
You know what match was almost an hour long? Shawn Michaels versus Taker, WrestleMania 25. That is on there. I'm not leaving until you guys agree with me. That is on there.
Okay, so you're putting that on there.
There's no debate. Ask people. Ask everybody.
Okay, so
but that over the TLC match?
That over the TLC match.
Listen, here we go. HBK versus Taker 1, Hogan versus Goldberg. We got Bailey versus Sasha and Omega, the Omega at Wrestle Kingdom match.
Yeah.
Are we satisfied?
Yeah.
Well, no.
Wait,
we're not satisfied?
No, we're not satisfied.
I can't.
No.
I can't.
I'm not satisfied.
I told myself that, listen, Shawn has to be up there,
yes,
and TLC has to be. So I'll change mine for TLC.
I'm sorry,
okay.
but
I would love.
Okay, so you're taking Hogan Goldberg off for TLC.
Goldberg. Huh? Yeah. I think Hogan Goldberg should be up there just for what it was in the Monday Night Wars and how the business was going. But TLC has to be up there.
HBK Taker 1 at 25. We have TLC 2 at WrestleMania 17. Bailey versus Sasha at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. Omega versus Okada at Wrestle Kingdom 11. Are we satisfied?
No.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think that Taker Shawn match should be on there.
Get out of here.
Listen, I agree. I actually agree. I don't think that should be the match. I know Shawn should be there. Shawn should be there.
Wait,
maybe not that match, but Shawn should be there.
Hold on a second. Sasha versus Bailey should be on there?
That match
I'm sorry,
set the
Alan,
standards for women's match at that point.
I'm sorry. I think the best women's match I've ever seen beats Taker versus Shawn.
Yeah.
No, Alan, why?
Listen, listen. To be honest, Taker versus Shawn the first one was a great classic one though.
Yes,
it was classic. It was great at 25. I'm not.
It's not Shawn's best.
But also, if you look at that compared to,
it was so great that the main event
No, but if you look at that compared to a women's match that set the standards for the women's evolution at that point.
Really?
I'm not mad at that pick. I'm not really.
No,
I'm not mad at
I'm
that
not
pick.
talking. I'm talking to Mike because Mike thinks like that doesn't deserve to be
That
up there.
doesn't. No, you know what set the standard for women? Lita versus Trish Stratus on Raw, 2004.
I disagree. I think that Sasha match, that Sasha and Bailey match.
Why are
Go
we
back and
even
rewatch
talking-
that match, Mike.
Also, Mike,
back
if
and
I could argue this, the storyline in the Sasha Bailey match is better than the storyline of Shawn Taker 1, because Shawn Taker 2 had the better
Dude, it's
storyline.
not.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
that was
absolutely.
better
Yeah,
build up.
sure. So if we're not satisfied, the only thing that can happen is Mike has to move off HBK and Taker. He's not going.
I'm not moving on. No, this can't
Okay,
happen.
so then it's set. It is what it is. Then
Wait,
there's-
it's Sasha versus
and
Bayley.
Alan's not going to move his match off. I know.
Alan,
And neither
please.
am I.
Alan, what can I do to convince you?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Alan, these are two
I don't
legends.
understand your prejudice against the match generally. It's just
No, but
mind-boggling.
Alan, listen, okay? It's Sasha and Bailey. They're not legends, my friend.
Tell me the Sasha Bailey storyline going into that match.
I can't remember. That's the thing.
Your point's invalid then.
No, what about Taker? What about Taker versus? Wait, hold on a second. What about Taker versus Shawn? Number one.
It was a legend kind of thing.
It wasn't
Fighting
just
for
that.
King of the Mountain.
It was the fact that Shawn Michaels came in there and he was all kind of like the heaven guy. Like he was the newborn guy. The whole.
This is what I go through every
Right,
day,
but
guys.
listen, but listen. You got your match. He got his. What's the issue? What
Yeah.
else would you put in the match?
That shouldn't be on there.
Okay, but what would you put in place of the Bailey and Sasha match? So if you're not going to put it in there,
Yeah, outside of his picks.
Oh, you know what? I'll put Rock versus Hogan.
but you can't. Like he has to move it. He's not going to move it, so it's standstill.
Alan, Rock versus Hogan or Goldberg versus Hogan?
Why is this bothering you so much?
Guys, see,
Goldberg
this is what I
versus
go
Hogan.
through
Get so
every
destroyed.
day.
Because this has to be valid. This has to be one thing that most people agree with here. No,
Most people do. You're the outlier.
that's the way it works. Hey, listen, that's the way it works all the time, right, Carl? Right, Outlaw?
It does, but I think it's a fair list. I can't
fair-
disagree with it.
Alan, please, my friend, change it. I do not want.
Mike, you're the only one.
Like, ask people. We should have gone live. Why didn't we go live? We should have asked people in the live.
I guarantee you people would have my back on this.
No,
They
people
will.
have
They
my
will.
back
They
on
will.
it.
You know what? I'm gonna drop a teaser. You know what? I'm just gonna leave. I'll tell you guys after. But this is the final list because no one's moving.
Get the hell out of
HBK
here.
versus
Oh,
Taker at
God.
WrestleMania 25, TLC 2 at WrestleMania 17, Bailey versus Sasha at NXT Takeover in Brooklyn, and Omega versus Okawa at Wrestle Kingdom 11. You guys, thank you so much for joining me here on episode 2. Episode 3 will feature the women of wrestling. It will feature women Mount Rushmore of wrestling. We'll see who comes down to that one. You
Don't
guys
have Mike on.
No,
Right?
no, the next time I'm back, I'm on at 12:30. I'm on the last episode that we have, I believe, with the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, no, I think you're on for I believe you're on for best manager.
12:30.
Yeah, that's the 12:23.
I'm the last one.
Yeah. So no, I think that the last
Goat,
Rick is on
right?
that one. No, the GOAT one is episode 6. I think Rick is on that one. So you guys
Yeah.
stay tuned. Alan, please share your information for your show.
The Alan Austin Show on YouTube, and you can follow me at Alan Austin Sports on Instagram. And I just want to say the hottest crowd I've ever been a part of was actually my favorite wrestler of the last couple of the, I'd say 5 years ago, Dolph Ziggler cashing in Money in the Bank. Hottest
Yes.
crowd I've ever been a part of.
Yeah, that you've been a part of. Yeah.
And that's what I said.
Yeah,
This guy.
Hey, listen, this is the way it
He's
is.
gonna get on your nerves, bro. He's gonna get you.
And I just want to say an honorable mention, and obviously because of his life's path, it's hard to include him. But Royal Rumble 03, I think, Angle
Benoit.
Benoit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
Yeah,
Yeah,
difficult.
Chris Benoit has some class. Listen, I'd say the hottest crowd. I was at Taker Shawn 2. That was a hot crowd. That was a really.
But you know what? I do agree with the Benoit one. I do
Yeah.
agree with it. It's
Z-
unfortunate because he had great matches. I
He
believe
did.
one of Tom Kenny, he had that, but because of his past, it's not right to put
Zach,
that.
can you give a shout out to your podcast?
Yes, you can follow with that Box Office Losers on Instagram and on Twitter, not on Twitter, on YouTube. It's my movie review podcast. Me and my friend are now starting our Christmas month, so stay tuned for that. You can also follow me at Dark Shadow Zake, literally everywhere you can find social media.
All right, you can catch the other Hitless contributors. You can catch Rick and Mike on all our shows. You can catch them on the
wait,
NFL
one
Sunday
second.
Preview Show and also on our Wednesday show. Mike,
Carl?
go ahead.
Mike Morello 22 on Instagram. And also, I was going to tell you this, but I'm going to be doing an after show for NXT War Games.
All right. You guys take care, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Carl.
Thanks for watching the Sports Hit List. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. In fact, do it now.